What's going on, everybody? Wilson here, your spiritual hype man, and super happy to be back. And thank you again for tuning in, listening in. I hope you got a chance to listen to Gianna Down and Dirty with Gianna, part 1 and 2. Very insightful to hear, someone that is crushing out on her end, has gone through a bunch of things in her life and then figured out, what she needs in order to keep moving forward. Just had a recent conversation with my younger brother as well. He's working on stuff. He stopped drinking, right? So if you listen to the one, New York City, my brother got drunk. He has worked on, he wants to get in better shape. He wants to just get healthy, right? And again, moderation is good, is key. But I would say if you're looking to get healthy, you already know what things you need to change or stop doing, and now it's really just putting in the effort. Before putting in the effort, remember, it's the decision, it's the emotion, the thought, the emotion, and then the action to that effort. So just keep that stuff in mind, keep that stuff in mind. And remember that some days are better than others. And it's really just what you're battling with in your internal thoughts and what you can do to work on them. And so again, hopefully you're feeling great, that was a longer intro than usual. Hopefully you're feeling great. And if you're not, just remember it's the thoughts in our head, and we just need to figure out a way. One, we have to identify how we're feeling. If it's not happy or the situation that we're not in, it's not a good outcome. What is it, right? What is it in that situation? What's the thought that led up to that? What was the emotion that drove that action, that decision that led to that outcome? And so, man, there's been a couple of things, and I think I want to touch base on a few. One, sometimes I want to talk about the feeling of either. So I feel like with me, there's certain aspects of my character, right, in terms of the person that I am, or the person that I guess, the person that I am. Let's just talk because we can go different spherical, metaphysical, etc. But I feel like for the most part, the character that I am I feel like there's lots of facets to an individual, right? So I would assume there's plenty of different emotions that play into your emotional character, and then when those emotional states come into play, there's different actions, right, or reactions if we're not really, cognitive of our decision making at that moment, or in control of it, and we're just more reactive, that we become a certain way, because it's just pattern repetition and recognition based on how I'm feeling and what I'm going to do to get me out of this feeling. And so for the longest, I think the biggest thing that I battle with is just the intense amount of thoughts that I have about what the situation is, and then what other people may be feeling or seeing or thinking or perceiving in that moment based on whatever situation I'm involved with them. And so, I feel like today was one of those days where I woke up, and instead of doing my morning routine, I just kind of got into what I was doing. And based on the fact that I didn't go to bed early enough last night, and I went to bed kind of late, and that kind of threw my morning routine off because I was still in bed by the time I wanted to be up, stretching, moving, stuff like that. Jumped right into a few things. And then like around 11, I felt really like I just didn't feel right. Like I felt like all these thoughts and things I needed to do and get done and things like that all at the same time kind of like hit me. And then I started noticing like my body was tight. Lower back started cramping up, like getting real tight. And then I looked at the back of my leg, and I saw like my leg vein like really protruding. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, I'm like, oh shit, am I dying? Am I having a heart attack? What the fuck is going on right now? And that kept leading into like other thoughts, and what happens if I'm not here, and is there enough finances for Patty, and what do we need to do to close more projects, et cetera, et cetera. So like it was like a spiral of that on top of everything else that like it needs to get done, like the dishes and the laundry, right? And so like in that moment, I identified that I needed to do something to try to relax my current state or get out of that current state by doing something else or trying to think of something else. So I then went outside, did a little bit of breath work. I laid down on the weigh mat, and then just put on like this, like I like to listen to frequency / meditation / Native American flute. That's the stuff that like I zen out to. And so I did that for a little bit, and it helped. I think I should have done it a little bit longer, done a little more breath work. Then I went inside, and I came back outside for a little bit, hopped in the ice bath. That helped. Just helped me help calm me down. I jumped back in the shower. I took like a warm shower, and then I was somewhat ready to get back into my day. And so, so again, this is just another example of if you're dealing or struggling with whether it's anxiety, fill in the vocabulary where that means something to you, but it's dealing with the extra energy or the extra thoughts that are just creating unconscious and conscious like havoc on your body and mind and actions. It's something to start working on. And if you're already working on it, just continue on that path. And really, I would say the focus is to how quickly can you identify, right? And maybe some of us don't work from home and we work in an office or whatever the case may be. What can you do in those moments to not let something go even further, right? Let those thoughts or let those negative like emotions, energies, feelings, frequencies like go further for it to affect you for the rest of the day. And so, so that's really what happened today. And I wanted to get on here and just really, I guess, address it and identify it again. Patty and I ended up going for a walk, which was great. And after that, I felt good. I felt much better. I got some work done, et cetera, et cetera. So that's something to consider today, something to look back on and really reflect does that happen to me? Does it happen to you? And then what do you do about it? Do you force yourself through it? And then how do you feel at the end of the day? Now, another last thing, I guess I'll talk on this one. The nighttime routine, I think, is also very important. There's been a couple of times that, for the most part, I've gotten better instead of just like smoking a little weed, watching a movie, and passing the fuck out. Like, there's got to be a setup for your body to be optimized during your 8 hours or 6 hours of recovery, right? Because when you fall asleep, you're recovering, right? Your body's recovering, doing its thing. I think it's also equally important, not only in terms of what you're drinking and eating before you go to bed. I also think it's super important in terms of like your mindset and then your breath work on the way in. All right. So the last couple of times I had I've been conscious of just deep breaths, relaxing, and then for me, when I do that when I wake, right, at waking up, there's moments of clarity and there's just like a more restful sleep that I found personally I get when I do that proper nighttime routine for myself. And so this was something that Gianna had talked about, and a couple of the other homies in a couple of the other episodes that we talked about, the importance of doing something like that. So I hope I hope I reiterate the things that we continue to go through, or continue to battle, continue to go, work through. And this is something that I know I need to continue to work through, because my heart rate, it was just like, right? So I knew that I needed to chill the fuck out. And because my heart rate's going crazy, whatever is happening to my body in terms of tightness and, capillaries and veins and things like that, I'm like, fuck, I needed to take a minute to just fucking relax and do something different. So that's what I'm going to reinforce on this one, is if you do find yourself in those moments, just remember to take a step back, go get a breath, go get a walk, do something different, but change your atmosphere, change your thoughts, and really hone in on yourself, right? The self-perception and the self-consciousness, how am I doing right now? And I ended up having a conversation with Patty. I told her, I said, hey, this is how I'm feeling, and there's a couple things that we talked about, and I'm going to save them for maybe a different episode. I don't want to talk about it on this one, but really it was just I asked for the support because I knew I needed it in that moment. Hey, lady, I need you to support me in this moment, because I feel like I feel like I'm going crazy. I feel like I want to yell. I want to whatever, man. It was just again, I found myself in this spot of overload, right? An overload feeling, right? Of overwhelming just emotions and thoughts and stuff like that. So the last, I guess, point here would be, if you have someone, if you're lucky to have enough someone, if you don't, then yourself, you're lucky enough to have yourself, and I'm sure you're working on whatever that is, and I can't wait to talk about that again in terms of relationships and things like that. I'm going to have somebody on the podcast that will be a really good story to share with everyone. So either way, if you do have someone or you don't, if it's yourself, or try to find someone that in those situations can help support you, even listen to you, just someone that you can honestly communicate with these feelings without you thinking, this person's going to turn around and say somebody or think something of me, et cetera, et cetera, I think is also super important. And for my homies that are close to me, my friends and family, they know that that's me. Like if you ever need somebody, even, figure out a way to reach through Instagram or the website, if there is something that you need or you need somebody to talk to, feel free to reach out to me, because I it's my biggest thing that I'm passionate about, I would say, or that I enjoy doing, is having these conversations with people when they need it. And that's the last thing I'll leave you with, is I've realized that for me, myself as the individual and the podcast, we're here and I'm here for the people and for you and for anybody. The podcast is here for when you need it, right? Like when there's something going on and you feel not so good, that's why I coined the spiritual hypeness. Like I want to be your spiritual hype man. I want the podcast to be your spiritual hypeness, the thing that you look for, the thing that you come to when you need it, right? We're not always going to need it, because we're sometimes we feel great and we're doing other things and life is taking us elsewhere and things like that. It's great. I just want you to understand that I'm here when you need it. It's here when you need it. And we'll be here for the rest of the world, life, rest of the time here on earth, and even probably more than that, because these recordings will probably live somewhere. All right, homies, keep crushing it. I appreciate you guys. Remember, identify the thought, the feeling, then go back and figure out what's making you feel this way. Do something different. Change that up. Go for a walk. Give yourself some breath work. I would encourage you to look up ice baths. I would encourage you to start with maybe cold showers. I would encourage you to do all these things that are scientifically proven to help the body, right? To help the mind, to help the internal processing mechanism of your, what is keeping you alive and moving you forward. The good nighttime routine, and of course, a support system, community, or other half or group like Nothing Changes Until You Do. All right, homies, have a great one. Keep crushing it and go get 'em. Talk to you soon. And don't forget, nothing changes until you do. Peace.